Hello Misamores and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're having an amazing day. And today is another day of being frustrated by my fingers because they are unable to hold rings. I don't have a lot of finger fat. My finger bone structure apparently seems to think that I do, and therefore is just very broad and thick. In practice, that means I've got this ring. I'm kind of struggling to get it over this point. It is very hard. And then I get it over it, and then it's just so fucking loose that it just kind of does what it wants, twists and turns and... Now, if that isn't a first world problem, because we're angry, we gotta do something that calms us, relaxes us, so I need to think of a new video idea. In theory, what we're gonna do is supposed to calm and relax us. Anyway, it's almost Christmas. I don't think I've ever really done DIY gifts in a video. Today is the day, and I also know not all of you celebrate Christmas, but you can still make these gifts, either for yourself or to give to someone else for another special occasion. Well, and let's just say this video is basically just an excuse for me to finally crochet. I know I've hinted upon the fact that I kind of want to get into crocheting now in my Etsy DIY kit video. I just really want to fuck myself over when I've realized that it's probably not as easy as I thought in that video. Not only was the stuff that I made very big, but also the yarn was very thick, and that made it all very easy. Anyway, so I've got two gifts for you today. One of them should not take you as long, but the crocheting obviously takes as long as crocheting takes. This fucking ring. To be completely honest, I kind of already started with a crochet project yesterday just to get a feel of it, and also because I had time but couldn't film yet. But we're gonna have to make two pieces, so you're just not gonna see what I've done already. What we're gonna make are fingerless gloves because I think they are very cool. They're probably not very practical because in winter your fingers will still be cold, but fashionable. At least in my eyes. And I also think they are quite easy to make because essentially you just have to make a large rectangle and then sew it together. So I think it's a good, easy first project if you've got the right yarn. I don't know much about yarn. I don't know much about crochet yarn, which to use, which not to use. I just know that you shouldn't use the one I'm using. I used it when I did my punch needle rug. Oh, yeah. And I thought, yay, I can make my fingerless gloves with this yarn. But yeah, this yarn really does not want to become fingerless gloves. I mean, maybe it's a matter of practice. So if you don't already have yarn lying around, then make sure to get proper yarn that doesn't unravel as easily as this one does, because that makes it really difficult to pull the yarn through loops. Especially if you have to pull the yarn through 3 loops at the same time. I don't know if this is gonna be a tutorial. Maybe it's just a translation of a German tutorial that I am following. I will link it in the description down below. It's super easily comprehensible. I will still try my best to explain to you guys. It took me a lot of trial and error to find the right size of the hook. I mean, I tried it with her hook and it did not work at all with my kind of yarn. So here I've got a 3.5 millimeters one, and it's been working out better than bad. As I said to you guys, these fingerless gloves are basically just a large rectangle. It's basically supposed to wrap around your hand like this. We kind of want to make it to here or so. So let's start with the beginning loop. No, it's not called that. Anyway, this is the easiest part. You're just gonna make this nice little loopy-de-doopy. Hold this here, take the end of the yarn and pull it through from behind. Then hold both strips of the yarn and just pull, and now basically you've got this very big loop. That is the first loop where you have to put your hook through, and that's it. We're gonna start off this nice little project with a chain stitch, and here it depends on the size of your hand, basically how many chain stitches you will have to make. In the video she only made I think 30. Initially I had 35 for mine, but also realized that that's a little tight, so for this one I'm probably gonna go with like 36 maybe. So the chain stitch is like my favorite one because it's the easiest one. So basically you have your working yarn, I don't know if that's what it's called. I think you have to figure out a way to hold it yourself. I kind of twisted once around like my index finger, and then with the hook you kind of go under the working yarn, take it and put it through the loop that you've just created. And that's your first chain stitch. And now you've got your new loop, and you just do that again as many times as you kind of need it. Look, I've got a nice little chain done. Oh, I mean, we've gotten a little tighter in the end. I was just gonna say that with this one, I didn't do them as tight as with my first attempt. Which my first attempt, I've just accepted the fact that my two gloves will be very, very different. They'll have the same color. I think I've done 36 of these stitches. As you can see, if I tie it around my hand loosely, both ends kind of touch. Again, just measure and then, you know, you'll be fine. We're not gonna crochet the entire thing like this. We're gonna have to make it a little more complicated. But I promise you, this stitch is actually like very easy. You just have to understand it and get into it. The first thing you would do is go into the first stitch and then keep crocheting, which is not correct, because with this one we're gonna have to go into the third one. The loop where we've got our hook in never counts, so we go 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3 stitch, and this is where we have to go into. But before we go into, we kind of have to take our yarn, and then with that yarn go into the third stitch, go through, then take the yarn again and go out again where you just went through the stitch. And now you've got these 3 loops on your hook. Now comes the really difficult part, and you take your yarn again and go through all 3 of these loops. And this time it worked out really nicely, so that is just great. But usually I'm like really struggling to pull it through. Okay, I'm gonna show you again. Take your working yarn, go through, take it again, go back through, have 3 loops on this hook, take your working yarn and go through all of these. Yay, finally you see my struggle. So yeah, this part is really very frustrating. If I can't save it like this, I usually just open this back up and do it all again. And that's basically how we're gonna finish off this row. Hi guys, our first row is done. It doesn't look perfect, but I don't think it was ever gonna look perfect. It's also a DIY project, so I'm fine with it looking DIY. It's made with love, and that's all that matters. This is what it's looking like. I've done this half double crochet all the way down. So now our first row is done. We're gonna finish off this row with 2 chain stitches that we know from the beginning, because it's just 1 and 2. I don't know if you can see, if you have the vision. We've got this row now, and now we need to go up in order to do this next row. And then we turn our whole project around so that we can now do the half double crochet all the way back. But important is, on your first row, if you look kind of on top, you see that you've got 2 loops that you can go through now, right? On each stitch. And here it's important that you always go through the back loop of this one. So again, you go through your loopy doopy here, you take your working yarn, and you go through the back loop of this. Take your working yarn, go back through and go through all of these 3 with your working yarn. And that's what you do until you're at the very end again. And then guys, we shall meet again. We've got 2 rows now. I still gotta work on perfecting the look of this. This is what it looks like. And the only thing that I wanted to make sure you know at the end is not to forget the last stitch. Now that I've already used it, it's not that hard to see, but this was harder to see. Just remember to also do that last stitch here at the end, because again, sometimes it's not easy to see. And to finish off this row, again, we're gonna do, you guessed it, 2 chain stitches, 1 and 2, turn it around and do the same again. And we're gonna do that about 16 times. Heyo guys, we finally did it. I mean, almost. I mean, yes, we did it. Woo! Wow, big dark rectangles. We can definitely see that I have improved if we look at my first one, which I definitely fucked up a little. And then look at this. Does this not look perfect? All of you crochet people will probably find a lot of mistakes in this, but as an amateur looking at this looks perfect. Especially if you like look at this. Technically I would have to open all of this up again and redo it. Also because we are gonna run into a bit of an issue size-wise because it's gonna be really tight. I might just have to like give it to my nephews or my niece. But before we continue, we gotta finish off our entire thing. We have to do 1 more chain stitch. So just take your working thread or working yarn, go through it once, pull it really tight, and then cut off the yarn, but leave it quite long because we're gonna need it to sew it together. Better safe than sorry, I'm just gonna keep this very long. I think these are scissors. Ooh, speaking of scissor, have you listened to SZA's new album? It took me a while to get into it, I'm not gonna lie. At first I was like, it does not sound new at all. It sounds like everything she's done before, except for like 2 or 3 songs. And I'm still of that opinion, but I've listened to it so much now that I like it. Anyway, to finish it off, we're just gonna pull a thread through, or yarn, whatever, and pull it really tight. Now you're gonna need some sort of markers. You're just gonna lay it wherever you want your thumb to stick out. This is entirely up to you guys, but essentially you're now just gonna mark it wherever you want your thumb to stick out. On top, it would be like kind of here. On the bottom, it would be kind of like here. Hopefully you will have like a really straight rectangle, but basically you're just gonna fold it in half, and then we're just gonna take a needle, yarn through that needle. All we have to do is sew it together. Just like so. And I'll meet you guys when I'm here. I have now sewn all of this together, and now, you know, I'm where the marker is at. And obviously this part we now do not want to sew together. So I'm just gonna go through one of the layers, just so I don't have to like cut the thread and like redo everything. I don't know, it just makes it easier. Just until I reach the other marker. And now obviously once I've reached the marker, I'm just gonna sew both layers together again. Then we're just gonna hide the rest of the yarn in our project. No one will know it was even there. Ah, we done did it! This one looks so good. This one, I don't really want to talk about. Please be stretchy, please be stretchy. Yes, yeah. Ta-da! And now we're cool. These are so cool. This one looks so good though, right? I think I'm definitely gonna wear them. We can finally move on to our second project. I had to take off my cute new gloves because I realized I can't really go to the toilet with them. So while I was in London last week, I came across this TikTok. Doesn't really matter that I was in London. I just wanted to say that I was in London because I miss London. Yeah, so I was in London when I found this TikTok. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, this is cool, but also it's this kind of cringe and ugly. So I'm talking about these wire flowers. I mean, I love flowers. I just hate the fact that they die after like 2 days and you spend a fortune on them. Preach it. I love supporting small businesses. I guess I just have this DIY kind of mindset where I'm like, do I want to spend money on this? Or do I just want to try and make it myself? And probably end up spending more than I would have had I just bought it. And I also thought this is a perfect gift. I don't think you need a lot for it. You need wire and obviously pliers. My issue with this is I have no idea what I'm doing. Luckily it's wire so you can bend it back if you don't like it anymore. Okay, I think I'm gonna start with one that looks the easiest. Let's make our second flower. I feel like you just gotta dissect the shapes, and then it could also be quite easy. We're gonna make our shapes that we already know for like in the middle. Like so. Go down, go down, go down, go down. Fa la 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 la. Now we do 2 more of these. Oh, this is so ugly. I don't know how to do that better though, because my wire is so thick. Maybe you now know what I made here, so you can tell me what it's called. We now make the leaves of, I don't even know what flower it is we're making, but I think we're just gonna go like up. Then we're gonna go like this, and I think we're gonna keep it fairly simple for now. Ooh, 1 leaf. Okay, we pretend this looks good and move on. We're still practicing here, so it's really hard to pull this around it very tightly and somewhat neatly. I think that way you can like so easily personalize your gifts, because you can just think of what flowers the person that you want to gift this to really likes, and then craft these out of your wire. If you've got a favorite flower, just imagine getting them in like a wired form. We're making our last, oh, it's not even called leaf. What is it called again? Petal. Compared to this one, I kind of want it to be a little bit shorter, so I would have to go up here, cut it. Yeah, so technically you could call this flower done as well, but I'm thinking I kind of want to give the petals a bit more detail, so I kind of want to make like little swirly swirls here, see if that works. I'm kind of also pushing them like up and then out, you know, just like real petals. This is done. So we've got 2. I'm gonna make more and then show them to you in the end. Guys, I think I just made the cutest gift ever. And that took me like 1.5 hours. If you do a better job than me, then it's actually really cute. Look! A bunch of chaos. This is so cute. I think even mine are very cute. You just need a little bit of patience. Need to say goodbye to your fingers because they're gonna die. You obviously have to adjust them so that they look pretty, and then do not touch them anymore, and then that's so cute! In the viewfinder. It looks like a drawing, doesn't it? If I was able to hold it so that it doesn't move, I mean, I'll just take a screenshot. That is so trippy, kind of. It's so cute. I don't think I would want it in my own house, but if I saw it somewhere else, I'd be like, oh, this looks cute. So do I like it then? These were really rather easy DIYs. Obviously, this takes a long time, crocheting, and it's also something that you really need to have an interest in making. This is also a bit tedious, but it's very quick. I feel like a lot of you guys will like this. I mean, you should. You have to. You only need wire for this. Anyway, guys, Merry Christmas. That's it. We're gonna leave this video here. To those of you who are celebrating, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a beautiful time. To those of you who struggle on Christmas, you're not alone, and I hope you kind of get through these days quickly and rather smoothly. To those of you who do not celebrate, I hope you have great days anyway. And to those of you who've watched this video, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Y entonces nos vemos la próxima vez. Bye.